Hello everyone, this is Lisa Listen with lisalisten.com and the blog Are You My Cousin? Well, today I really wanted to sit down for a few minutes and talk with you about census records and making sure that we as researchers are getting everything we possibly can out of those census records for our ancestors. Now obviously census records are some of the first records that we go to as genealogists. They're readily available, they're fairly easy to search, and well, quite frankly, you can be quite successful with the census records. From 1790 up to 1940, we can track our ancestral lines back every 10 years. Now, I know some of our ancestors were hiding in theirs and they're hard to find, but for the most part, we can track those family lines back through time, just like that. But I have to ask you, are you getting everything you could possibly get from that record on your ancestor? And the reason I ask you that is because I ask myself the same thing, because I've absolutely missed things on researching the census records. I've had to go back not once, twice, sometimes 3 times to get that little piece of information that I missed the first time around. And the reason I missed it is I simply did not fully understand everything about that record. I didn't understand perhaps the question that was being answered for that time period. I didn't perhaps understand why the question was being answered. And so that really hindered me in my research. But I'm going to help you out with that today. I would highly recommend that you explore the site census.gov. Now this is the U.S. government's website on census records, and it's all things census related. It's a fabulous website and really a lot of fun. But on the at census.gov/history, you'll find the history of the older census records. And this is a great place to start because you're going to learn about what was required, the congressional acts that actually put forth and started the census for a particular decade. You're going to learn who was allowed to take those census records, what kind of training they got. And here's an interesting tidbit. Up until 1830, census takers did not receive a lot of training. It was very minimal training that they received, if any, for taking that census record. So you can see why some of those early records you might find a lot of inconsistencies from region to region on those. That's just one little piece of information you can receive there. But one of the really biggest things I want you to go for is to explore the instructions, the printed instructions that were provided to the census taker. These are very, very interesting to read. And the reason I say that is they will help define the categories that the census taker was asking the questions about. They will define terms such as what constituted a family. Did it have to be more than one person, or could it be one person? How did you have 2 family units within one household? What constituted that, and what was the rule for that? Another very interesting way to go about that, or interesting terms to find out, is some of those later censuses where they ask about the terms if a person was deaf, if they were blind, if they were an idiot. Now these are the terms of that the census is asking. These are not my terms at all. These are the terms that were asked on the census record for that time period. Not necessarily terms that we are comfortable with today, but that's what was used. And to fully understand your ancestor, you need to know what those terms, how those terms were defined for that census record, because it may not be what you think. For instance, for somebody to be deaf in one year, in say 1870, they could not hear, but they also couldn't speak. If they were unable to hear, but they were able to speak, they were not considered deaf in that category. Again, that's census record terms, not my terms. So I would encourage you for each of those census years, particularly if you have an ancestor that you're really struggling with, read the census taker's instructions and find out exactly what was being asked so that you fully understand the answers that were being provided. Now, another tip when you are researching census records is I would highly encourage you to have a blank census record form sitting right beside you, because as you know, those category headings and the census records can be kind of difficult to read. And you find yourself scrolling back and forth and trying to figure out what exactly it says. If you have a blank census record sitting right next to you, you're going to be able to be a little quicker and more efficient in your research. You can find those at Ancestry.com has blank printable forms. I believe they are free. I don't think you have to have a subscription for that. And FamilySearch.org also has those, I believe, as well. So those are some places for you to check to have those and print those out. I actually print out every single one of them, keep them in a folder. So if I start a new family line, I pull out that folder and I can set the needed record right beside me. And it's quick, it's easy, and it's efficient. It's there. One other thing, this is a great resource. Obviously, around some of the U.S. federal censuses did not survive. Obviously, 1890 didn't. And then there are missing ones for certain areas. A county might be missing one here or there throughout the states. But states also sometimes did their own census records. Now, this is kind of spotty. It's very unique to that particular state. It might not be every year. It might be they were typically on off years. So if you were exploring a time period, perhaps when the census did not survive for your particular county, then you might want to look and see if a state record was done. You can find a listing of every one of the state censuses on the census.gov site. They don't have the census itself, but they can tell you which state did a census and in what years that they did those. All right, guys, so your homework today, I want you to take some time and just explore the Census.gov website. I think you're going to find some really interesting things. You'll find a lot of interesting social history. If you desire to look into that, you can see a lot of statistics for each of the census years, which is interesting in itself if you're interested in that historical piece. But I would encourage you to see what they have there. I would encourage you to really explore the census that you're interested currently researching, find out the history of it, and find out the census taker's instructions, and see if that will help you better understand that census record. Have a great day. Bye.